Hey guys, welcome back to another Super Animal Royale video. In this video I will be ranking and explaining the specialty weapons in SAR, or in other words, any weapons that use specialty ammo. Specialty weapons are unique compared to other weapons in the game. They all have additional effects other than just dealing damage on hit. With that being said, one thing they all have in common is that all specialty weapons can pierce through armor in some way or another. And because of the special abilities these weapons have, explaining them will take a little longer than regular weapons, but I'll try my best to keep things concise. Without further delay, let's jump straight into the rankings. This video is sponsored by myself. Hope you enjoy. Coming in as the worst specialty weapon, we have Dogna's Dart Gun, also known as the Dart Gun. The fact that the Dart Gun is coming in last place goes to show that all the specialty weapons can be pretty powerful. The Dart Gun holds 6 darts, and hitting someone with one of these darts will deal 10 to 11 damage, regardless of distance. The dart will go straight through their armor, not only damaging them but also poisoning them. Poison from the dart gun deals 36 more damage over the course of about 2.5 seconds. This means hitting someone with the dart gun twice is enough to bring them down to extremely low health, to the point where just one more dart could finish them off. But it's important to keep in mind that none of these shots deal armor damage, so if you try to finish them off with a normal weapon, you'll still have to break their armor first. And if your target is poisoned and about to die, they might try running away to heal. But one neat thing about the dart gun is when you poison a player, they start to cough. This gives the dart gun a bit of a tracking ability, because if you're close enough, you can hear where they are from their cough. But there's one more special trait the dart gun has. If you're in duos or squads, you can actually hit players on your team to heal them. This will regenerate some of their health over time, with each dart healing about 24 health every 2 seconds. This can be an extremely useful tool in both duos and squads, and it's common in squads to have a dedicated healer on the team. But despite the amount of potential the dart gun has, one of its largest flaws is its slow bullet speed. This can make it hard to land shots if you don't take players by surprise. And since the dart gun primarily does damage over time, players who choose not to run can nearly always finish you off before succumbing to poison, since the dart gun has the lowest DPS in the entire game. But enough about the dart gun. Let's talk about its upgrade, Dogna's Dart Fly Gun. The Dart Fly Gun is extremely similar to the dart gun. Both the poison and healing effects are the exact same, and the darts only do slightly more damage, so it still takes 3 darts to finish someone off. It does have a faster bullet speed, so hitting players can be a little easier at times, and like the sniper weapons, you can actually crouch to zoom out with the Dart Fly Gun, allowing you to gather more information around you. But the main benefit of the Dart Fly Gun is its unique homing effect. If you hit a player with a dart, it will pierce through them and target the next nearest player. If the dart hits a second player, it will do a nerfed amount of poison damage to them. This can make the Dart Fly Gun much more useful in duos and squads, allowing you to hit more than one player at a time. You can even use this to your advantage if you have a teammate who is hurt near an enemy. Shooting them will not only heal them, but the dart will then fly towards the nearby enemy and potentially poison them. Likewise, if you have 2 teammates who are injured, the Dart Fly Gun can heal both of them at the same time. But unfortunately, as cool as this feature is, it isn't strong enough to rank it any higher on this list. Which brings us to our next weapon, the Sparrow Launcher. Mechanically, the Sparrow Launcher is actually pretty similar to the Magnum. It's a weapon with somewhat high bullet speed and range, making it a little easier to land shots. The Sparrow Launcher has a pretty low clip size of 5, so missing too many shots can be detrimental at times. But with a reload time of a little less than a second, it's usually easy to reload the Sparrow Launcher without being in too much trouble, as long as you aren't under a lot of pressure. While Sparrows from the launcher only do 1 armor damage, hitting a target without armor will deal around 60 damage, making the Sparrow Launcher pretty deadly even at longer ranges. This damage is consistent regardless of distance, making the Sparrow Launcher's damage output reliable in both close and long ranges. On top of that, the Sparrows are capable of piercing through armor, so even a player with armor will take around 25 damage. And the most unique thing about Sparrows is their tracking ability. Hitting a player with a Sparrow will put a tracker on them for a few seconds, letting you know where the player is on your screen, or what direction they went. In a game where information is highly valuable, this makes the Sparrow Launcher suitable for a lot of strategic scenarios. This information is even transferred to team members in duos and squads, making the Sparrow Launcher a somewhat decent support weapon. But I would argue that the next weapon does an even better job with Sparrows. The bow and Sparrow is very similar to the Sparrow Launcher, but the bow is actually a lot weaker in a lot of ways. A little less damage, slightly slower shots, and even the tracking time is a few seconds less. While all of these weaknesses are pretty small, they do add up enough for the Sparrow Launcher to seem like the better option. But there is one major benefit of the bow and Sparrow, and that is the fact that you never have to reload it. While the Sparrow Launcher is capable of firing 5 shots before its quick reload, there are a lot of cases where stopping a second to reload can ruin your advantage in combat. However, with the bow and Sparrow, you can keep firing arrows until you run out of ammo completely. This means if you have max specialty ammo, you'll be able to shoot 36 Sparrows non-stop, which ideally should be more than enough to take out even an entire squad. The drawback to keep this benefit from being too broken is the fact that the bow must be charged before shooting each Sparrow. You can do a short charge if you want, but this is almost never practical, because it decreases the range and damage of the Sparrow severely. For a full charge, it takes about a second, indicated by the flash at the tip of the Sparrow. An entire second might seem long, But the difference between the charge that the bow has and the reload that other weapons have is that you can still move normally while charging shots with the bow, including jump rolling. Holding your charge does slow you down a little bit, but you're still able to move and jump around freely, making you not only much more agile but also much harder to hit. This one difference is what makes the bow better than the Sparrow Launcher. However, it can be extremely hard to perfect the timing in order for the bow to work fully in your favor. With enough practice, you can master the bow, allowing you to fire sparrows between every super jump roll. In some scenarios, the Sparrow Launcher can still outperform the bow, because of its higher damage and higher fire rate at long ranges. There's also the fact that you can shoot immediately when swapping to the weapon, which isn't something you can do with the bow, but in most cases the bow's lack of reload makes it stronger. Not only is it better at pursuing a target with a constant barrage of sparrows, but it's the only weapon in the game that completely removes the weakness of standing still to reload. However, there is one specialty weapon more powerful than both of these Sparrow weapons. The BCG is the most versatile weapon in the game. There are many things you can do with the BCG that you can't do with other weapons. For starters, the BCG is the only weapon with splash damage. It shoots out an egg for a bullet, which travels through the air until it hits either an enemy or the ground. On impact, the egg explodes, dealing heavy damage to anything nearby. This allows you to hit multiple targets in an area at once, and the closer the target is to the center, the more damage it deals, dealing max damage with direct hits. Each of these hits deal 1 armor damage, as well as having a massive 75% armor penetration. Due to how much damage the BCG deals, even indirect hits are capable of dealing around 30 damage to players through their armor. The gold BCG is also well known for its ability to take out players in just 2 hits, even if they have max armor. But the BCG does have a few downsides. For each shot, you need to spend some time charging it. If you don't charge up your shots long enough, the eggs won't travel very far. In fact, the splash damage can backfire on yourself if you aren't careful, making the BCG the only firearm in the game that you can hit yourself with. While you need to take time to charge the BCG, in order for its eggs to shoot at decent distances, the BCG lets you charge it between jump rolls if you time it correctly. This makes it much less risky in combat, however the weight of the weapon will still slow you down a little. And at close ranges, if you can time your charges enough, you can rapidly hit your target while still avoiding damaging yourself, but this takes lots of practice. While the BCG deals a lot of damage, it only holds 5 projectiles until needing to reload. The reload time is a little under 2 seconds, making it pretty lengthy while in combat. But if you can master aiming the BCG, the 5 shots should be more than enough to secure a kill, or at least allow you to secure the area long enough to spend time reloading. Speaking of aiming the BCG can be extremely tricky compared to other weapons, especially in tight spaces. And I'm not just talking about the timing of charging your shots. The eggs shot out by the BCG actually bounce off of walls. So if you miss your target and accidentally hit a wall, you risk the possibility of the egg falling on you and damaging you. But despite all of this, there's one major benefit of the BCG that I haven't mentioned yet. The BCG is actually the only firearm in the game with projectiles that can shoot over some objects. You can shoot eggs over all sorts of things, from fences to counters, and even some rocks. This makes it possible to hit targets which would be impossible to hit with any other weapon besides throwables, and is great for surprise attacks. One last detail of the BCG is that its shots leave behind an egg splatter on the ground, which slows down anyone traveling through it. This can be both an advantage and a disadvantage depending on the situation. Sometimes you're able to force players into moving slowly, making them easier targets, but in most cases this feature isn't too useful, and you can even trap yourself a little bit since the egg splatter slows you down too. All things considered, the BCG is not only the most versatile specialty weapon, but the most powerful as well. And that concludes this video. Ranking specialty weapons was a little tricky since they all have unique features that make them stand out. But I think it's really cool that the top 2 entries, the bow and the BCG, are actually the hardest ones to use at their full potential. It just goes to show that despite SAR seeming like a simple battle royale on the surface, there are some mechanics that have lots of depth and can take a long time to be fully mastered. This game is amazing and there's always something new to learn. With that being said, if you have anything to add about these weapons, feel free to speak up in the comments. Anyways, with this video I've covered every firearm and ranked and explained except for shotguns, which I might dedicate to their own video in the future. But I still have other topics planned for this series, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching, I hope you have a good day, or night. See you later.